Pete Hegseth is proving how a JAFR with an alcohol problem shouldn't be a military leader. And the women of Trump are making the women of Manson look like angelic saints. This and more as we jump into the pit. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Social Pit Podcast. This is for the week of March 31st, 2025. And now, 10 weeks into his administration, Donald Trump has signed 103 executive orders. As I have mentioned over the past couple weeks, Donald Trump is writing executive orders addressing lawyers who have personally gone after him for crimes that Donald Trump has committed. I've already addressed the executive order where he's addressing Perkins Coie LLP. Last week, he went after Paul Weiss. This week, Donald Trump signed Executive Order 14246, addressing risks from Jenner and Block. Now, in this executive order, Donald Trump says he's addressing the risks associated with law firms, particularly so-called big law firms that engage in conduct detrimental to critical American interests. Many firms take action that threaten public safety and national security, limit constitutional freedoms, degrade the quality of American elections, and undermine the bedrock American principles. But the election integrity that Donald Trump is talking about is the 2020 election in which he lawfully lost. Now, I had mentioned earlier how Perkins Coie LLP had gotten involved in the 61 lawsuits that Rudy Giuliani had filed claiming election fraud, but in each case, Rudy Giuliani failed to present any evidence of election fraud against Donald Trump. And in this most recent election in 2024, Donald Trump and Elon Musk both stated, Freudian slip-wise, that they bought the election for Donald Trump. Several times on the night before the inauguration, during that massive celebration that Donald Trump had in Washington, D.C., he had made mention 4 times how he rigged the election.
Presenting you there, you know, I got both of them. I got the Olympics and I got the World Cup. And I said, you know, it's too bad. One was in 2026 and the other was in 2028. And I said, I won't be there. I won't be your president. But then they rigged the election, and now we won, so I'm going to be your president for the Olympics and for the World Cup. So, Johnny, thank you for the World Cup.
So it is no surprise that Donald Trump will go after lawyers who have targeted him in election fraud cases and business fraud in New York State. Donald Trump feels that if he can go after the lawyers that are prosecuting him or litigating against him in accordance with the Constitution, that he will be able to rewrite our national laws. Now, last week, as I was editing and uploading my podcast, just as I had finished uploading it, news started coming across the feed about Pete Hegseth and Signal app. Now, Jeffrey Goldberg, the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic magazine, was added into a group chat on the Houthi attack in Yemen. National Security Advisor Michael Waltz and Pete Hegseth on Monday, after the report from The Atlantic was released, both stated that no war plans had ever been released in that group chat.
Nobody was texting war plans. You're talking about a deceitful and highly discredited so-called journalist who's made a profession of peddling hoaxes time and time again.
Immediately following the release of the article from The Atlantic, Many members of the 19 people in that group chat on Signal were in front of the Congressional Committee, including Director of National Intelligence, two-tone hair herself, Tulsi Gabbard. Now, Tulsi Gabbard, Mike Waltz, and Pete Hegseth all admitted that there was no war plans released. But on Wednesday, Jeffrey Goldberg released screenshots of all the text messages, including the F-18 strikes at exactly which time they were going to strike and when the second wave was going to happen. Jeffrey Goldberg did not release information about him being added to the group chats at the time that the Houthi attack was going to be planned. Now, as I have stated in the past, even with all the receipts released by Jeffrey Goldberg, Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth will not accept or take any responsibility whatsoever. All they did last week was just insult and degrade Jeffrey Goldberg and the Atlantic magazine. Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt went right in front of many reporters, calling the Atlantic a failed magazine, a un-American Jeffrey Goldberg, a poor reporter.
But the mainstream media continues to be focused on a sensationalized story from the failing Atlantic magazine that is falling apart by the hour. Here are the facts. The National Security Advisor has taken responsibility for this matter, and the National Security Council immediately said, alongside the White House counsel's office, that they are looking into how a reporter's number was inadvertently added to this messaging thread. We have said all along that no classified material was sent on this messaging thread. There were no locations, no sources, or methods revealed, and there were certainly no war plans discussed. The Atlantic has even admitted this themselves. Their release of these internal messages validates the truth, which we have been saying all along. If this story proves anything, it proves that Democrats and their propagandists in the mainstream media know how to fabricate, orchestrate, and disseminate a misinformation campaign quite well. And there's arguably no one in the media who loves manufacturing and pushing hoaxes more than Jeffrey Goldberg. Goldberg is an anti-Trump hater. He is a registered Democrat. Goldberg's wife is also a registered Democrat and a big Democrat donor who used to work under who? Hillary Clinton.
But this is how Donald Trump deflects his inept ability to be a human being, to be a leader, to be a law-abiding citizen. Every president, up until Donald Trump, including President Biden, when something went bad, they all accepted responsibility. President George Bush, President George W. Bush, President Ronald Reagan, even President Richard Nixon. There has been several times where President Barack Obama went right to the people and said he accepts full responsibility for the tragedies that happen to our military people, to our citizens, anywhere that there is an American interest here in the world. And in Donald Trump's first term, everything that happened bad in his administration, he deflected and tried to blame President Obama in any way, shape, and form. This time around, he is doing everything he can to blame President Biden for the failed issues that he is encountering. And this week, as we see the stock market starting to drop because of his tariffs that he's imposing on the entire world, Donald Trump is going to once again deflect and call it Biden policy. Just like he did when the American Airlines crashed over the Potomac, he tried to blame President Biden and DEI policy right away. Donald Trump did everything in his power to disrespect the passengers on that American Airlines plane from Kansas and the 3 soldiers that were on the Black Hawk helicopter. And this time around is no difference. Donald Trump is trying to deflect, calling the Atlantic magazine a horrible magazine, a failing newspaper, and Jeffrey Goldberg a traitor to this country. As an American veteran who served proudly in the United States Air Force, Donald Trump is the traitor to this nation by giving unlimited power to a South African national to destroy our government from the top on down. Now, on Thursday last week, Sky News reporter Martha Kellner was trying to interview Marjorie Taylor Greene. Marjorie Taylor Greene stated that she would not answer a foreigner's questions. Marjorie Taylor Greene snapped at her and said, "We don't give a crap about your opinion and your reporting. Why don't you go back to your country where you have a major migrant problem?"
Anybody else?
Should the defense secretary?
What country are you? Wait, what country are you from?
From the UK.
Okay, we don't give a crap about your opinion and your reporting. Why don't you go back to your country where you have a major migrant problem?
Okay,
And you, no. You should care about your own
Okay,
borders.
do you care
no,
about
no, no.
American lives being put at risk?
Let me tell you something. Do you care about people from your country? What about all the women that are raped by migrants?
Do you care
No,
about
by migrant. No, do you care? Okay, you're done.
Do you care
I'm
about
not-
American lives
no,
being put at risk?
You know what? I don't
about
care. I
service
don't.
members fighting for your country.
I don't care about
and
your
vice
fake news.
president
Do you have a
and your
relevant
defense
question?
secretary?
Yeah, this is an American journalist. Thank you.
I'm an American, and I'd like to hear your answer to what she's asking.
I'm not answering her question
All right,
because
I'll
I
ask
don't care about her network. If you would like to ask,
asking it.
I can
Do you
answer.
have any concerns whatsoever about the complete disregard of operational security from the top level of this administration?
You want to know about complete disregard about operational security? You should talk about the Biden administration, how they ripped our borders open to terrorists, cartel, child sex trafficking, human trafficking, and drug trafficking across our borders for 4 years. The Trump administration is doing a great job, and I stand by their statements. I stand by their statements. My comment to you is I'm thankful to President Trump that he is leading us out of wars, that he's ending the war in Ukraine, where American lives could have been killed if Joe Biden was still president today, whether he liked it or not. We're talking about NPR and PBS today. We're talking about fake news that was funded with federal funding from American taxpayers. That's what this is about today, not journalists from the UK that should care about
A
their own.
journalist is being vilified.
Now, the problem is the UK does not have a migrant problem like Marjorie Taylor Greene says that is here in the United States, as we do not have a migrant problem. She also stated about how there's a murder problem there in the Great Britain, which there isn't. Statistics have shown that the United States is 6 times more deadlier than the UK per capita. The United States averages about 6.81 murders per 100,000 people. And in the UK, that is 0.0117 per 100,000 people. In the UK, guns are not prevalently easy to get. Here in America, Republicans are doing everything in their power to allow even the mentally unstable to own multiple guns. Tragically, here in the United States, we cannot go 1 year without seeing at least one school shooting take place that has killed upwards of 10 to 30 children. In 2022, mass shooting in Uvalde hit very home to some people that I knew very well. And just last year, I met Brett Cross, whose own son was a victim of Uvalde. Brett does a nightly live on TikTok where he tries to push for legislation on gun control, gun reform, and extensive background checks on many people trying to apply for guns. Brett Cross is a native from Texas, and he does not want to eliminate guns. He just wants sensible gun laws to take effect here in the United States. I have watched several of Brett's lives where he has debated the Second Amendment with many MAGA Republicans who are very adamant about the Second Amendment. And let us not forget the time that Marjorie Taylor Greene attacked David Hogue, a survivor of the Parkland shooting, as he was going into Congress to testify before Congress about his experience with a mass shooting in a high school.
Yeah. David, why are you supporting the red flag laws? If Scott Peterson, the resource officer at Parkland, had done his job, then Nicholas Cruz wouldn't have killed anybody in your high school, or at least protected them. Why are you supporting red flag gun laws that attack our Second Amendment rights? And why are you using kids as a barrier? Do you not know how to defend your stance? Look, I'm an American citizen. I'm a gun owner. I have a concealed carry permit. I carry a gun for protection for myself, and you are using your lobby and the money behind it and the kids to try to take away my Second Amendment rights. You don't have anything to say for yourself? You can't defend your stance? How did you get over 30 appointments with senators? How'd you do that? How did you get major press coverage on this issue? And how did you get kids? Why do you use kids? Why kids? You know, if school zones were protected with security guards with guns, there would be no mass shootings at schools. Do you know that? The best way to stop a bad guy with a gun is with a good guy with a gun. But yet you're attacking our Second Amendment. And you have nothing to say. No words. Tell him walking. He's got nothing to say.
Marjorie Taylor Greene threatened David Hogue with a gun that was hiding in her purse. And this was broadcasted during Marjorie Taylor Greene's first campaign in 2020. But because Georgia has the most lenient gun laws in the entire country, there's even one town in Georgia where every male adult is required to carry a handgun at all times. Georgia and Texas are two states that are looking to bypass federal law and allow felons to be able to own guns. Even violent felons who have committed atrocious acts against women. And this shows that the character of Marjorie Taylor Greene is very vulgar, disgusting, and extremely unprofessional as a elected representative here in this nation. Carolyn Leavitt, otherwise known as Kylie McInerney 2.0, is doing her best to peddle propaganda just like Joseph Goebbels in Nazi Germany. And many people have taken to TikTok and have mocked Carolyn Leavitt and her use of a cross as she continues to lie daily. Several TikTok creators have gotten under Carolyn Leavitt's skin and have forced Carolyn Leavitt to no longer wear a cross to her press conferences as she continues to peddle the lies of one Donald J. Trump. Now, as I said at the beginning of the show, the women of Trump are making the women of Manson look like angelic saints. It is getting to the point where the women of Trump, Lauren Boebert, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Carolyn Leavitt, Tulsi Gabbard, and even Laura Loomer are going to go to the extreme, all for a 80-year-old sex fiend who chases children on Epstein Island. And we can only hope that in 2026, during the midterm elections, that the American citizens finally realize what kind of trash Donald Trump and his MAGA movement is on this country. The disaster that is happening right now, we are going to be expecting a lot worse as Donald Trump continues his unholy terror on our allies, on our friends, on our citizens, on our Constitution, all in the name of his own glory and ego. Thank you for joining us today. Join us again next week right here on the Social Pit Podcast. Have a great week.
About to go down, going all out. This is right now, yeah. Together we rise. It's about time. Unleash the power. Yeah. Unleash the power. Yeah. Unleash the power. Yeah.
of our own. The fire never fades, still breaking the mold, no matter what it takes.